On the afternoon of July 28, 2023, a frantic call went out from a quiet Antioch home on the outskirts of Nashville, Tennessee. 33-year-old Donovan Holt told authorities that his wife, April Lynn Holt, had been found unresponsive in the bathroom by their 7-year-old son. She was in the shower, a plastic bag taped over her head. When paramedics arrived, April wasn't breathing. She was rushed to the hospital where doctors fought to save her. 3 agonizing days later, on July 31st, April was pronounced dead. Just weeks earlier, she had been celebrating her 29th birthday and posting upbeat videos to the more than 200,000 followers who looked to her for positivity and encouragement. April had built her online identity as a positivity coach, blending humor, spirituality, and raw honesty about her struggles with depression and adversity. She often reminded her audience to manifest the life they wanted and to embrace progress over perfection. But beneath the glossy TikTok posts, April's real life was far more complicated. She was a mother of 2, 11-year-old Serenity and 7-year-old Denzel, and an independent lash technician who had proudly built her own business from scratch. April's videos often highlighted her family, especially her close bond with her children. Yet, her marriage to Donovan, her high school sweetheart turned to husband, was rocky. They had shared both joyful milestones and painful separations, financial struggles, and bouts of depression. Their relationship was defined by a cycle of breaking apart and coming back together, often framed online as a story of resilience and love conquering obstacles. Privately, however, April had decided she was done. 2 weeks before her death, she filed for divorce. It wasn't the first time, but unlike earlier separations, April confided to her mother, Jaime, that this time she would not go back. Donovan, too, appeared to be preparing for an ending. Just a week before April's death, he pawned his wedding ring. Now, in the wake of April's sudden passing, police concluded there was no foul play. They said it was a tragic case of suffocation, perhaps self-inflicted. But her mother Jaime refused to accept that. April was a woman of faith, optimism, and devotion to her children. Jaime knew her daughter. She would not have chosen to leave Serenity and Denzel behind. To her, something darker had happened inside that Antioch home.
28th, she woke up, drank her coffee, journaled as usual, enjoying her peaceful morning, hugged and kissed her 7-year-old son Denzel, and her husband then went into the bathroom and began to argue and fight. My 7-year-old grandson put his ear to the door and heard his parents fighting, and he looked underneath to see both of their feet. He then listened some more, but he couldn't understand what they were saying, and so he then ran to his room. His dad shortly after came into his room, and he got him dressed and he fed him, and he then had him go check on his mom. He asked him to go check on his mom. 911 was then called. We got to the hospital, and she had no brain function and no blood flow to her brain. We did not find out about the bag, which was not disclosed to us, for over 6 hours. In that time, her husband had went back to the apartment 2 times, not knowing I don't know what he was doing there. On July 31st of 2023, my daughter was...
From the start, April's death didn't sit right with her family. Police treated the scene as a suicide, noting there were no signs of forced entry or struggle. But the details raised doubts. April's hands were free, there were no notes, and she had made plans for the coming weeks. An autopsy revealed no drugs or alcohol in her system, no underlying medical conditions, and nothing to suggest she was in crisis. The official cause of death was listed as asphyxiation due to suffocation, but the manner of death remained undetermined. April's mother, Jaime, immediately began pressing for answers. To her, this wasn't a woman who gave up. Just days earlier, April had been talking about new goals for her business, sharing moments with her kids, and discussing her divorce. Jaime believed her daughter had been silenced, and she wasn't shy about voicing that to investigators. Meanwhile, attention turned toward April's marriage. Donovan told police he was asleep when April died, only waking when their son discovered her. but friends and relatives remembered years of tension, financial disputes, arguments, and periods of separation that had left April exhausted. In the weeks before her death, she had made it clear she was moving forward without him. To her loved ones, that gave Donovan a motive. Despite these suspicions, the case stalled. Detectives had no physical evidence tying Donovan or anyone else to April's death. With no witnesses and no clear proof, the file grew cold. Yet, Jaime refused to let her daughter's story end there. She began organising vigils, speaking to the media, and demanding that the case be reviewed. For her, this wasn't just about April. It was about 2 children suddenly left without a mother, and the truth they deserved to know. When the Metro Nashville police told Jamie Dickerson that her daughter's death was nothing more than a tragedy of her own making, she refused to accept it. She had sat by April's hospital bed, seen the bruises, the marks that didn't make sense, and the emptiness in her grandchildren's eyes. To close the case so quickly felt like a betrayal, not just to April, but to the truth. Jamie knew her daughter. April had survived a tough childhood, started a business from scratch, and raised 2 children with grit and love. She had fought too hard to simply give up on life. There was no way she would choose to leave Serenity and Denzel behind. So, Jamie did what mothers do when they know something isn't right. She fought back. She started small, posting on social media, sharing her side of the story and pleading for someone to listen. Local reporters ignored her, police dismissed her, and still she pressed on. She showed up at community review boards, filed complaints, and demanded to see the full case file. She spent long nights poring over the reinvestigation report page by page, searching for the details detectives seemed determined to overlook. And details she found. April's body hadn't been free of injuries like investigators first claimed. There were bruises on her neck, her thighs, her ankles, a gash cut across her inner thigh, and the most damning piece of all, fingerprints. The plastic bag taped over April's head held just one set of prints. They weren't April's. They belonged to her husband, Donovan Holt. Despite this, the official story never changed. The case remained closed. Authorities were content to call April's death self-inflicted, ignoring every red flag Jamie shoved under their noses. But Jamie wouldn't let the silence win. She became her daughter's voice, chasing down anyone who might listen. She wrote a book on grief, Grieving Through Grace, using her own pain to connect with others while raising awareness about domestic violence. She sat beside her grandchildren through counselling sessions, comforting them when nightmares woke them screaming in the middle of the night. Her advocacy came at a price. Donovan moved to Texas and tried to bring his son with him, forcing Jamie into another battle, keeping Serenity and Denzel together. She was accused of influencing the children, of planting doubts in their heads, but Jamie knew better. Her grandson had begged her not to send him. He just wanted to stay with his sister, with the only stability he had left. By April 2024, a gag order silenced her online posts about the case. For the first time in months, her voice was forced quiet. But silence didn't mean surrender. Behind the scenes, Jamie kept pushing, kept investigating, kept digging for the truth she knew was waiting to be uncovered. And when she finally confronted Donovan directly with what she'd found, everything changed. By the fall of 2024, Jamie had gathered enough evidence to do what the police should have done from the start: hold Donovan accountable. She sat across from him, calm but unshakable, and laid it out plainly. His fingerprints were on the bag, his fingerprints were on the tape, and April hadn't put them there herself. Donovan tried to deny it, but the weight of the truth finally cracked him. He confessed. Jamie recorded that conversation. The very next week, she handed it to investigators. At last, the case could no longer be ignored. The autopsy was officially reclassified. April's death was no longer a tragedy of her own choosing. It was homicide. On September 20th, 2024, the announcement came. Donovan Holt had been arrested in San Antonio. He confessed again, this time to detectives, admitting that he strangled April during an argument and staged the scene to make it look like something else. He even admitted to sending their son to check on her while she lay unconscious, a detail so chilling it made even seasoned officers uneasy. For Jamie, the arrest was both a victory and a heartbreak. Her year-long fight had finally forced the truth into the open, but justice was still incomplete. Donovan was indicted not for murder, but for reckless homicide, evidence tampering, and false reporting. To Jamie, that charge felt like a slap in the face. Strangling a woman, staging a crime scene, and letting your own children walk into the aftermath. How was that reckless? From that moment, Jamie made it her mission to push the case further. She wasn't satisfied with half measures. She wanted prosecutors to see what she had always seen. This wasn't just a fight gone wrong. It was deliberate, it was violent, and it cost April her life. The fight for justice wasn't over. On February 18th, 2025, Donovan Holt was sentenced to 2 years in prison, followed by 8 years of community corrections.